Have you ever noticed biblical images where Jesus, the Virgin Mary, Abraham, or King David have darker skin? Look past Europe, and you'll find that Russia has unveiled biblical icons with these darker skinned figures. This isn't a unique twist by Russia. It's a historical reality as solid as the UN's reach in time. These icons aren't just artistic quirks. They carry deep meanings and raise intriguing questions about history, faith, and representation in religious art. Before we dive into this topic, please hit the like button to support our work. Share this with your friends and family to help spread our enlightening Black narratives. Don't forget to subscribe for more content and support the growth of our channel. Your support means a lot. Now let's talk about Jesus, one of the most famous names in the world. Mark 4:22 says, "For there is nothing hidden which shall not be manifested, neither anything kept secret that would not be brought to light." For centuries, Western cultures have often depicted Jesus as a fair-skinned man with a beard, wavy light brown or blonde hair, and sometimes blue eyes. However, the Bible doesn't describe Jesus' appearance, and current evidence suggests he probably looked quite different from these traditional portrayals. The New Testament's Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, give us the fewest clues about Jesus' looks. They tell us he was a Jewish man born in Bethlehem and grew up in Nazareth in Galilee, now northern Israel, during the 1st century. According to the Bible, Jesus was around 30 years old when he began his ministry, as mentioned in Luke 3:23. Yet the Bible doesn't describe his appearance except to say he didn't stand out in any particular way. It's likely that Jesus had the brown eyes and skin typical of other 1st century Jews from Galilee, but his exact appearance remains a mystery. There are no known images of Jesus from his lifetime. Although the Old Testament describes King Saul and David as tall and handsome, the Bible offers little detail about Jesus' appearance. When Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, Judas Iscariot had to identify him among the disciples, suggesting they all looked quite similar. The Bible doesn't explain why they appeared alike or their skin color. This lack of detail makes us wonder if these aspects were deliberately left out of the Bible or if the gospel writers simply didn't address them. The traditional image of Jesus as a white European man is now being questioned, especially in light of recent discussions about racism and historical accuracy. One major recent event fueling this debate is the revelation of certain icons from Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin has decided to move one of Russia's most sacred icons, Andrei Rublev's Trinity, from a museum to a Moscow cathedral. This move has sparked discussions about Putin's growing connection with the church and the role of religion in politics. The icon, which portrays the visit of 3 angels to Abraham in Genesis, is part of a collection of Black icons dating back to the 14th century. These icons, gathered from private collections across Russia, were mostly destroyed during the Soviet era. They are rare and challenge traditional depictions of biblical figures. It's truly breathtaking and gives you goosebumps. This exhibition is a feast for the eyes. Everything outside might be gray, but inside, it's a vibrant display of beauty. These icons you see are the last survivors. If museums hadn't preserved them, they might not exist today. Once there were millions of these icons, but now only about 50,000 remain visible. The unveiling of these icons is a powerful testament to the enduring strength of truth. Their authenticity makes us rethink our understanding of the past, especially regarding the representation of Black figures. For centuries, these figures were obscured, but their rediscovery shines a light on untold stories, challenging old assumptions and encouraging us to view history through a more inclusive lens. Many Russian icons were destroyed or sold abroad by Soviet agents, while others were hidden or smuggled out to avoid destruction. Since the fall of communism, new icon painting studios have opened, creating art for both local and international markets. Older hidden icons have also been recovered or returned from overseas. Currently, the Castel San Angelo in Rome is hosting an exhibition featuring 40 Russian icons that have left their country for the first time. These pieces, hidden after the October Revolution of 1917 to protect them from anti-religious destruction, are now showcased for the first time, revealing their rich history and artistry. For the first time, a large number of Russian icons have come to Italy, including some that have never been moved before. This exhibition features examples that are appearing in our catalog for the very first time. Icons, usually painted on wood, represent saints or sacred elements. In Orthodox tradition, they are seen as the Gospel's divine inspiration channeled through the artist's hand. Their deep symbolism reflects the icon's role as a representation or vision from another world. The wood evokes the Holy Cross, the gold background signifies divine light, and the cloth on the wood symbolizes the shroud that covered Jesus' body. These icons are of immense importance in Russia, much like the pyramids are to Egypt or the temples to the Greeks. The exhibition spans from the 15th to the early 20th century, offering a rare glimpse into the religious soul of Russia. Recently, there has been significant debate about these black biblical icons. Some believe the icons darkened over time due to age, while others argue that the blackness of the icons is intentional, reflecting the actual skin color of the figures depicted. Robert Rubin suggests that the icons were meant to accurately portray the skin color of the people they represent, challenging traditional depictions. He questions why the clothing in these paintings did not change color and points out that true Israelites and ancient Egyptians were black-skinned. Some also believe that the ancient maps indicate that the Kingdom of Judah was located in West Africa, and that Jews who fled into Africa after the destruction of their nation ended up being sold into slavery worldwide. This raises questions about the origins of racial hatred and its connection to the historical disobedience to divine commandments as described in the Bible, particularly in Deuteronomy. The argument extends to suggest that the hostility toward black people stems from a mix of historical, religious, and racial dynamics. Johnson offers a fascinating perspective. While American depictions of biblical figures often turn them white, Russians have maintained historical accuracy. He points out that key biblical texts, like Song of Solomon 1-5 and Revelations 1:15, support the idea that these figures were black. The blackness of the icons is not due to aging or lighting, but reflects the true appearance of these historical figures. Johnson criticizes the American portrayal of biblical figures, suggesting it distorts history and perpetuates lies that many people inherit from their ancestors. He argues that the truth about these figures is evident, but often ignored due to entrenched misconceptions. Russia has continued to unveil significant biblical artworks, with President Putin leading the charge. Russia's recent revelations include ancient paintings of Jesus from the 1400s by Father Vladimir Ivanov. These works, highly valued for their historical and racial depictions, showcase the presence of black figures in biblical scenes. Such rare and expensive books, ranging from $300 to $3,000, reveal the history of black people across Europe, including Russia and Italy. One notable painting, The Transfiguration of Christ, depicts black figures in caves, challenging the common narratives seen in American education. This information is often overlooked or not included in mainstream educational systems, leaving many students unaware of this perspective on European history. In The Crucifixion of Christ, we see black angels and people surrounding him, which contrasts sharply with the familiar images most of us have grown up with. These depictions challenge our long-held beliefs and highlight how historical images of black figures have often been overlooked, especially in American education. The reality is that black people have had a significant presence and influence throughout history, including in roles of leadership. Russian icons from the 1500s and 1600s depict black figures, including Jesus and Mary, in ways that are not commonly seen in American education. A highly sought-after book explores these black icons and their historical context in Russia, Italy, and other parts of Europe, shedding light on an important yet often overlooked aspect of history. Debates about the authenticity of these icons continue. Alex Peasy, a software developer and Catholic Christian, notes that Russian Christians adopted Byzantine orthodoxy, including its iconography, which has strict rules. Orthodox iconography follows a fixed style, with icons serving as portraits of Christ, the Virgin Mary, and other saints. This style, known as the iconographical canon, is highly regulated, though it was not always formalized through church councils and episcopal processes. While Russia continues to captivate the world with its historical revelations, the quest for truth persists through the shadows of history. Recently, There have been calls in the U.S. to remove Confederate statues, and activist Shaun King has extended this call to include murals and artworks depicting a white Jesus. His concerns are about how these depictions support notions of white supremacy. Prominent scholars and the Archbishop of Canterbury have also questioned the portrayal of Jesus as a white man. On June 22, 2020, Shaun King announced his support for removing statues of a white Jesus. King argued that historical evidence suggests Jesus likely resembled people from the Middle East rather than the white figure commonly shown in Christian art. He tweeted, "I think the statues of the white European they claim is Jesus should also come down. They are a form of white supremacy and always have been. In the Bible, when Jesus' family wanted to hide and blend in, they went to Egypt, not Denmark. Tear them down." King's comments drew criticism from some, including prominent conservative figures. He clarified that his focus was on statues of a white Jesus, responding to a tweet from Prageru, a nonprofit co-founded by Dennis Prager. King also criticized stained glass windows and other images of a white Jesus, his white mother, and their white friends, calling them racist propaganda and a form of white supremacy. He shared an image of a darker-skinned Jesus from a 2002 Popular Mechanics article, which scholars believe might be a more accurate representation. King noted that this image would have been unacceptable to many white Americans involved in slavery. Experts have suggested that a darker-skinned Jesus might be the most accurate depiction of his appearance. Shaun King tweeted on June 23, 2020, that white Americans who exploited and oppressed Africans for centuries could not accept this portrayal of Jesus at the center of their faith. Following his call to remove statues of a white Jesus, King responded to a tweet by Jenna Ellis, a lawyer for President Donald Trump, who warned against efforts to cancel Christianity. King argued that what Ellis was defending was her own whiteness, tweeting, "Christian whiteness needs white Jesus. It's not about generosity or kindness. It's about whiteness itself. Attack white Jesus, and you attack her faith." Statues have been torn down and destroyed in the wake of protests against racial injustice and police brutality that began in 2020. While statues commemorating the Confederacy have been the primary targets, monuments to other historical figures have also been removed. The movement to deface and take down controversial statues has spread to the UK and other parts of Europe and the US, drawing mixed reactions. Critics argue it's mob rule, while supporters view it as a necessary step toward addressing systemic racism. Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury and head of the Church of England, has called for a reevaluation of how the Western Church portrays Jesus. In an interview with the BBC, Welby acknowledged that Jesus is depicted differently around the world. He noted that in many Anglican churches globally, Jesus is portrayed as Black, Chinese, or Middle Eastern, which he argues is a more accurate representation. Welby emphasized that these depictions are not about who we worship, but about showcasing the universality of God, who became fully human. Addressing calls to remove monuments linked to the UK's imperialist past and slave trade, Welby mentioned that statues in Canterbury Cathedral would be reviewed. He said, "The question about whether they should all be there arises, of course. We're going to be looking very carefully and putting them in context." The unveiling of these black icons highlights how history can be obscured, yet truth ultimately emerges. These artifacts challenge our long-held narratives and prompt us to re-examine our understanding of the past. If the authenticity of these paintings is confirmed, they offer a new perspective on history and representation, urging us to confront and reassess our historical stories. That wraps up another video segment. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Support our work by hitting the like button, sharing with friends and family, and subscribing for more engaging content. Thank you for watching.